Today, we're diving into the secret lives of Israel's big shot billionaires. Imagine a world where success isn't all glitz and glam. Instead, we're focused on the real dark stories hiding behind the scenes, starting off with Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu's very own son. Check this out.
Israel has called up over 360,000 reservists for duty. But even as Israelis abroad are flying home to join the fight, the question being asked is, where is Yair Netanyahu, the Prime Minister's eldest son? Most Israelis who complete their mandatory military service remain in the reserves until the age of 40. At 32 years, Benjamin Netanyahu's eldest son is believed to be eligible for reserve duty. He had moved to Florida earlier this year. Although he was never a combat soldier, Yair Netanyahu undertook compulsory military service. He worked in the spokesperson's unit of Israel's defense forces. Yair Netanyahu also had moved to the US after a controversy about his social media activity. Yair triggered a public outcry when he called Israelis demonstrating against the country's proposed judicial reforms as terrorists.
Word online is that it was recently revealed that Netanyahu's son lives in Miami, Florida in full luxury. He works as some kind of a PR person to promote Israel and is also known to like to visit strip clubs where he brags about how important his father is. Now, I wouldn't go so far as to confirm all of this just on rumor, so I did some personal digging into the lifestyle of Yair Netanyahu, son of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and it was definitely something. I guess the most obvious and easiest to confirm is the fact that while Israel has called up over 300,000 reservists to fight Hamas, Yair Netanyahu is not one of them. The controversial and outspoken son of Benjamin Netanyahu is reportedly in Florida's Miami enjoying the beaches and sunshine. Meanwhile, their country is at war with Hamas. As per the Times, Yair left Israel for Florida early this year. A number of social media posts have claimed Yair is in Miami, where he's been photographed enjoying the beaches and sunshine. The 32-year-old is currently eligible for reserves duty in Israel, where the cutoff is 40, which led soldiers to comment how Yair is enjoying his life in Miami Beach. Meanwhile, they're on the front lines. Brothers, fathers, sons, cousins, uncles, all going on the front line. But Yair is not here. So they comment how it does not help build trust in the leadership of the country. Another soldier pointed out how he flew back from the United States where he has a job, a life, his family. While there is no way these people can stay there and abandon their country, their people at this time, where is the Prime Minister's son? Why isn't he in Israel? Those are the questions going through people's minds. Some things I've picked up about the Israel Prime Minister's son. Yair hosts a right-wing podcast in Florida. Yair studied theater. He served as an Israel Defense Force spokesperson during the compulsory military service. Yair has, to say the least, had a checkered past. A court in August ruled that Yair must compensate a woman who sued him after he implied she was having an affair with his father's chief political opponent, Benny Gantz. The court ordered Yair to pay over $34,000 in compensation and $6,000 in legal costs to Dana Cassidy. Over the course of the election, which ultimately returned Benjamin Netanyahu to leadership, Yair posted a series of unsubstantiated statements implying that Gantz was having extramarital affairs. Yair, who has served as a close informal advisor to his father, is known for posting messages on social media and has been involved in several defamation cases over the years. As per the Times of Israel, Yair in March, after anti-government protesters surrounded a Tel Aviv salon where his mother Sarah was visiting, claimed that they were terrorists. Yair later deleted the tweet, and according to the newspaper, Netanyahu and his wife Sarah had urged Yair not to post on social media. Earlier this year, a judge ordered him to pay $18,000 to a former lawmaker in Israel's opposition Labor Party who he called quote-unquote ugly. As per The Guardian, Yair was temporarily banned from Facebook in December 2018 over a number of anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian posts. Now, this part I have to quote. Yair wrote, "There will not be peace here until 1. All the Jews leave the land of Israel. 2. All of the Muslims leave the land of Israel. I prefer the second option." End quote. And he also said, quote, "There will never be peace with those monsters in the form of men that have called themselves Palestinians since 1964, end quote. Facebook said the post violated its terms of use and were hate speech. Yeah, so this kind of thing, it makes people want to do a paper chase on Israel's relief fund, saying it's funded by US taxpayers to ridiculous amounts, like $9 billion every year for over 70 years. Now, I can't confirm that number myself, but I can say that maybe it's time to revisit what the US's Steinmetz's role really is in this war between Israel and Hamas. You know what I mean? That's why I highly recommend subscribing to the channel and tapping the notification bell. We definitely want to stay on top of these things, especially now that we're inching closer and closer to an all-out war here. Hopefully not a World War III, but you know what I mean, right? So yeah, thanks for sticking with me, guys. Thank you for always watching, and for sure, thank you so much for always lighting up the like button. I totally appreciate that. This kind of news, though, it kind of makes you wonder if this could be part of the reason why a lot of hardworking Americans struggle just to get by, you know? It'll definitely raise your eyebrow when you hear some of these other things about other Israeli billionaires. There's Israeli minerals magnate Beny Steinmetz, who was recently convicted of corruption. The Israeli diamond and mineral magnate Beny Steinmetz has been convicted of corrupting foreign agents and forging documents by a Geneva court in a trial over an attempt to reap lavish iron ore resources in Guinea. Considered by some to be Israel's richest man, Steinmetz was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but had faced a maximum of 10 years in this case. He was also ordered to pay $50 million in fines. Steinmetz, 64 years old, had denied the charges. The plot, dating back to the mid-2000s, involved Steinmetz BSGR Group squeezing out a rival for mining rights for vast iron ore deposits in Guinea's southeastern Samando region. Now, apparently, there were alleged payouts of millions to a former wife of late President Lansana Conte, exposing the shady and complex world of deal-making and cutthroat competition in the lucrative mining business. Geneva prosecutor's office alleged that Steinmetz and 2 other defendants engaged in corruption of foreign officials and falsification of documents to hide the paying of bribes from authorities and banks. They said Steinmetz, starting in 2005, set up a corrupt deal with Conte, who ruled the West African country from 1984 until his death in 2008, and his 4th wife, Mamade Toure, involving the payments of nearly $10 million, all to win exploration and exploitation licenses for very lucrative iron ore deposits in Guinea between 2006 and 2010 in the Samando region. And its competitor, Anglo-Australian mining group Rio Tinto, was deprived between July and December 2008 of concessions it had up to then held in the Samando region north blocks 1 and 2. Steinmetz also allegedly employed what they call opaque structures to hide the corrupt schemes that were managed from Geneva, where he lived until 2016. The group said that the case showed how tax havens had been used to conceal questionable, even illegal activities in countries with weak governance and regulation. Another one, the diamond smuggling scandal of Israeli billionaire Lev Leviev. Apparently, close associates of Leviev were busted in a massive smuggling ring, and an employee mysteriously plummeted to her death from his high-rise Tel Aviv office building. Lev Leviev, known in Israel as the King of Diamonds, has enjoyed close ties to Russian President Vladimir Putin and has a reputation for generous philanthropy to Jewish causes. But now, Israeli police are demanding that he return from Moscow for questioning on allegations of smuggling, money laundering, and tax offenses. It's looking like the downfall of one of Israel's most well-known tycoons. Born in Uzbekistan, Leviev moved to Israel in 1971, starting as an apprentice in a diamond polishing plant during the industry's boom. His rapid climb to the top included establishing his own plant, making deals in Angola and Russia that briefly challenged De Beers, the diamond giant, and expanding into real estate, construction, and chemicals. His African Israel holding and investment company became a major player in Israel. Some say he set the stage for other Jewish oligarchs from the former Soviet Union. Despite denying any impropriety, Leviev is negotiating his return with Israeli police amid all of the scandalous allegations. Even without formal charges, his association with suspects accused of smuggling $80 million worth of diamonds could harm his brand. Leviev's son, brother, and others were arrested in the Black Diamond affair, which took a tragic turn with the death of a bookkeeper from his diamond firm. On November 11th, when Mazal Haddadi, a bookkeeper for Leviev's diamond firm LLD, fell to her death from a small elevated bathroom window on the 10th floor of this office building right next to Israel's Diamond Exchange. Suicide? I'm not so sure, guys. Now, currently, there are more questions than answers, with the media speculating on Leviev's potential arrest and criticizing police conduct. Leviev's Israel office denied all allegations, saying that Mr. Leviev and all of the companies under his control operate in accordance with accepted norms, adhering to the law, and that they hope that this matter will be clarified quickly and the suspicions will be proven baseless. Now, of course, this kind of media attention is something that Leviev has long tried to avoid, preferring to limit his media coverage to philanthropy for the Chabad movement rather than his diamond dealings. His charity organization performs outreach for Jews around the world. As commented by journalists, it's a closed world where people like this keep their secrets. Leviev doesn't like publicity and doesn't like to stick out. Yup, definitely raises more questions than answers if you ask me. But what do you guys think? Last but not least, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself. Israeli police are planning to recommend indicting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu along with Hollywood producer Arnon Milchan on allegations of bribery, following an investigation that has lasted months, including repeated questioning of Netanyahu and testimony given by Milchan in London and associate billionaire James Packer in Australia. Israeli police announced it would recommend to the country's state attorney to prosecute Netanyahu and Milchan in what is referred to as Case 1000. It relates to bribery and special tax exemption legislation to benefit Milchan and his homeland of Israel. The proposed legislation dates back to 2013, and they say it was an alleged ploy to extend Milchan's status as a returning resident to allow him to take advantage of tax breaks. Police now say representatives of the finance secretary received a personal request to precede the Milchan legislation, and their position was that it contradicted public interest with less taxes paid and that legislation was not proportionate, sensible, or equitable. Definitely some shady stuff happening here, guys. It just goes to show how complicated the whole situation is with Israel, Gaza, and Palestine. I think it's abundantly clear that what's desperately needed in the Israel-Gaza-Palestine dilemma is a healthy dose of empathy. We can't keep perpetuating the cycle of violence without understanding the pain and the suffering of both sides. It's time to see beyond the political lines and acknowledge the human experiences of everyone involved. This isn't about taking sides. It's about recognizing the humanity in every individual that is caught up in this conflict. To truly break free of this cycle of violence, we need leaders willing to engage in meaningful negotiations, consider the concerns of all parties, and work tirelessly toward a more equitable and sustainable resolution. Bottom line, stop the hate. What do you guys think? Want to pick this up again in another video? Drop a comment down below, and I'll see you on the next one.